Okay, we're going to jump into questions. Tiffany and I are going to kind of handle these as we can, maybe a little more conversational than we've been doing before. And the first question we have deals with the type of information that you collect when you get a sign-up. The question is asking what, how much is too much? When can I ask for things like age or demographic or interest or preferences? And mostly what we looked at here deals with just getting an email address. So Tiffany, tell us a little bit about some businesses might want more information than just the email.
Yes, information is extremely valuable. It's how you're going to segment and target your subscribers. However, like I mentioned, you don't want to create any barriers. So we saw with Red Tricycle, they absolutely needed the email address, and they asked for first name probably because they want to offer some sort of level of personalization. They don't need much other information. I'm sure they probably ask for additional stuff later on, but I say only ask for what you absolutely need at that moment. So if you don't need their address, don't ask for that. So limit what you're asking them in the front. And then here we actually looked at Motley Fool to give people the option to update some of their personal preferences. And the thing with that, this is a lot of information, but if you are offering something of high value like a webinar or maybe a really high value ebook, you can ask for more information up front, but it's going to be different for every business. There's not just, limited to 3, limited to 4. It's going to be different. So just think about what's imperative at that very moment and then try and ask for it later in that welcome email that we talked about.
Okay. We've got another question here dealing with double opt-in. For anyone who's not familiar, double opt-in is the process of getting an opt-in by the subscriber has to confirm their opt-in. So they say, yes, I'd like to subscribe, and it doesn't actually register until you send them follow-up email, and they confirm that way. So the question is that this organization uses double opt for their newsletter sign-up, and they're seeing about 7% of the subscribers never confirm that subscription. And the question is that a typical percentage? I can't speak to whether that's a typical percentage. I can say that if I was using double opt and I had, that means 93% of potential subscribers are in fact confirming. And I would personally love to have that kind of rate for my own marketing purposes. We can do a little digging to see what industry benchmarks look like in terms of 7%. Is that a typical failure rate for that double opt process? But I think generally when we're talking about list growth, if your subscribers are coming in, and remember double opt is an extra layer. You're really trying to make sure you're getting engaged people who are actually interested. That means 93% of the people you're capturing, and however you're capturing them to begin with, are pretty interested. So I'd say that's a pretty good number that I personally wouldn't be. So maybe I need to have you put on a webinar for how to do it. And then, so we've got another question here. Just in case somebody missed this, the question was, will the webinar be available for download later? Yes, we will intend to make that this information available. So we're recording it. Hopefully that will work out, and we'll be able to send you all a link to watch it later. So I have another question here, Tiffany. How often should I send to my list? Is once a day too often? May get into questions about setting expectations early on.
That's a good question. And I think that people oftentimes are afraid to send too frequently. And it's going to vary based upon your business model. Obviously, if you're a daily deals, you're sending every day. But I get this question a lot when talking about newsletters. And at the very minimum, you want to send a monthly newsletter. Try and send it weekly. But you definitely don't want to get away from quality content. So send as frequently as you can while still providing that value that you promised to your subscribers up front. And in this particular instance, feel free to email me if you want to talk more about your particular business model. I mean, I'd love to talk to you more about this.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Is that everybody's going to be different. You know, what works for one vertical is going to be probably very different for another. So do feel free. You see both of our email addresses are there. It's what we're here for. Is to if you want to get specific or dive a little deeper, that's really what we are here to do. And you know, generally, I think that's it. Tiffany covered all those points, and it's really a function of when you are getting the opt-in. Be upfront about what your intentions are. If people sign up for a monthly newsletter and all of a sudden they're getting 5 times a day emails, they're going to unsubscribe. So be upfront and honest, because it's really the start of a relationship between you and your subscriber, and you want to get off on the right foot. I've got another question here. It's a good question, and it says, do you have any suggestions on where to start with SEO or how to tackle it? We could do a whole webinar on that topic, most likely. You know, this is one of those that, again, I think is going to probably depend on your organization and your model and the vertical you operate in, and we'll certainly be willing and happy to follow up and go a little deeper. But I would say generally a couple of considerations. I mean, SEO is something that you should sort of already be looking at doing for your own website. Obviously, you know, your keywords need to be there, and you know, you need to do research and see what people are searching for and how that aligns with what you do. When it comes to your email marketing, you know, this is a little bit of an overlooked thing to do, but we highly recommend that you post your emails online. Most ESPs will give you some sort of, I think Tiffany mentioned earlier, some sort of way to archive your messages. The easiest way to get started with using SEO to grow your list is to, number one, have great content in the emails you're sending. And then secondly, when you set up your message, go ahead and post that message online. Now you've got, think of it as a mini landing page for your content, and you can start to promote that content on various social media channels, which is steadily, we hear, beginning to affect how search engine optimization works. And so the easiest way to get started with that is when you're already creating the content for your email, go ahead and send it to your archive, post it online, and now at some point that message will get indexed shortly after you post it, and it's searchable and crawlable, and it will start showing up. So all of this starts with great content. I think that's the one thing that ties all of the things we've seen. You're not going to get subscribers unless you have something of value to send them. And that's probably the subject of yet another webinar that we'll have down the road. But anyway, that's a good start, and we'd be happy to follow up with you on maybe a little bit of a deeper dive in specifics there. And I've got another question here. I don't know that I have a great answer to it because, again, it depends, but I think it's a really good topic for conversation. On the topic of frequency, how much does length factor in? Would cutting a longish blast in half and sending it as 2 separate pieces perhaps be better? I suppose that depends on what you define as long in terms of sending one email that's very long or breaking that concept up into 2. You know, one thing that might help you with that is to pay attention to what your reporting shows. After you send a message, send a long message, take a look at the heat map for your, I've got a follow-up to that. So in their definition, long would be 5 or more links to different pieces of content for what they're sending. So that actually is really going to tie into what I was about to say then. Your reporting can answer this question for you, because in addition to just looking at your clicks, you know, what links are people clicking through, you might check the heat map, which, if you're unfamiliar, is a graphical representation of where on your email message people are clicking. So you get a sort of sense of, well, this link got a lot of attention, this link didn't. If you're sending a campaign with 5 links, first thing you should do is look at that heat map. What conclusions can you draw, if any, most likely you'll see, I think your question points to maybe the last couple links at the bottom of that newsletter or whatever that content is, aren't necessarily getting the kind of link traffic or click traffic that you'd like to see. So that certainly the heat map can point to that right away, which would be an argument for breaking that up. And in fact, I get a follow-up there. That is exactly what they're seeing. So sure, two ways to think about that. First thing would be to break up the long campaign and, make sure you're not bombarding your subscribers. That, they'll by now, I'm sure, know what to expect from you in terms of content. But do go ahead and break it up. And then the most important part of that follow-up is check back in and see if you see any improvement. You can always incorporate split testing into this. You can do, Tiffany's nodding furiously. Tiffany is our split testing evangelist here at Contactology. That's all she ever talks about. But, you might try, in addition to splitting it up, you might try doing a split test where you reverse the order of business just to see if that makes any difference. The more information you can have really helps you draw the conclusion about what to do next. Really, it sounds like in a case where you're talking about long campaigns with lots of links, it's worth seeing what happens if you break it up into two. I wouldn't send them both in the same day, but if it's compelling content, I'm sure you should try and promote it. I've got another question here I'm going to kick to Tiffany because I think she's had some strong thoughts on this stuff in the past. And early on in the presentation, you talked about events, whether they're events that you set up or something like a trade show where maybe your company pays for sponsorship or something like that. And the question is, are events like that worth doing given the barrier? You said, I think in the presentation, that there's an event for everybody. But in terms of the return for list growth, Tiffany, can you talk to us about whether that is really a worthwhile tactic in the context of list growth?
Absolutely. Yes, I do believe there are events for every budget. So I guess a good starting place is to take a look at previous events that you've gone to and what was the effort you put into that, the money that you put into that at the time, and compare that to the leads you got out of that. And possibly maybe a large trade show wasn't super successful for you. Maybe you need to try a trade show in maybe a different industry, or maybe be an industry expert at a smaller speaking event. Since it's going to be different for everyone, I think you just really need to look at how much money you're putting into the event and take a look at your return on investment, and not just how many leads you're getting, but the quality of those leads. That's probably the most important part, is looking at the quality of the leads that you're getting from particular events.
Yeah, and I think that's something we heard from the events, the people who participated in talking to us about their experience. Not all leads are the same. Some are better than others. Another point, just to expand on that answer just a touch, when you go to an event, when you go to a trade show, when you do a webinar, for example, or have a meetup or a speaker, that's really a one-time opportunity. You have somebody come by the booth, and that's it. You have your chance. You exchange business cards, you shake hands, you're done. If you can get them on your newsletter list, you get multiple takes at it. You have opportunity to market over and over, not just that one meeting. So if you're going to be an event, certainly that's a list opportunity there. Because it's only going to expand on the reason you're at the event in the first place. And then second, as Tiffany said, not all leads are going to be the same, and a face-to-face meeting really could be the start of a beautiful relationship, as they say.